Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if the change sitting in your pocket right now, the quarters you casually toss into a parking meter or hand over at the drive-thru, could actually be worth more than your car, more than your house, more than everything you own combined? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could make them millionaires overnight. And today I'm going to show you exactly which coins you need to be looking for, starting with one that looks so ordinary, so unassuming, that you've probably held dozens of them in your hands without ever giving them a second thought. We're talking about the 2003 Illinois State Quarter, a coin that was minted by the millions, released into circulation across the entire United States, and yet certain examples of this exact quarter have been valued at an absolutely staggering $110 million. Yes, you heard that right, $110 million for a quarter that you might find in your change jar tonight. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, before you dismiss this as some kind of wild exaggeration, I need you to understand that the coin market has exploded in recent years with discoveries that have shocked even the most seasoned numismatists. And the 2003 Illinois State Quarter sits right at the center of this phenomenon. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a quarter from 2003 possibly be worth that much? After all, 2003 wasn't that long ago. These coins were printed in massive quantities, and they're still floating around in everyday circulation, right? Well, here's where things get absolutely fascinating, because what makes certain 2003 Illinois State quarters worth a fortune isn't the coin itself in its normal condition. It's the errors, the variations, the manufacturing mistakes that occur during the minting process that transformed ordinary pocket change into numismatic gold. But before we dive deep into what makes this quarter so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore the Illinois quarter, we're going to reveal another state quarter that's worth even more. We're talking $128 million, and then another worth $140 million, and finally, we're going to end with something truly legendary. An 1884 Morgan silver dollar with an error so rare, so dramatic, that collectors are willing to pay almost $300 million to own it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on the 2003 Illinois State Quarter first. The Illinois State Quarter was released in 2003 as part of the United States Mint's 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and captured the imagination of millions of Americans who suddenly became amateur coin collectors, checking their change for new designs and hunting for complete sets. The Illinois Quarter features a stunning design showcasing a young Abraham Lincoln standing in front of an outline of the state, with the Chicago skyline visible in the background, a farm scene to the left, and the state motto, Land of Lincoln, prominently displayed. It's a beautiful tribute to one of America's most iconic presidents and one of the nation's most historically significant states. The Denver Mint, marked with that small d mint mark below the date, produced hundreds of millions of these quarters, sending them into circulation where they were used for everything from laundry machines to vending machines to tip jars. But here's the thing about mass production. When you're striking hundreds of millions of coins at high speed using enormous mechanical presses, errors will happen. And when they do, they create instant rarities that collectors go absolutely crazy for. The most valuable 2003 Illinois State Quarters are those with significant striking errors, particularly the double die obverse error, where the coin was struck multiple times with slight misalignment, causing doubling in the date, the word liberty, or in the lettering around Abraham Lincoln's figure. Imagine looking at your quarter under magnification and seeing the numbers 2003 literally doubled, appearing as two overlapping images. That's the kind of error that transforms a 25-cent piece into a six-figure, seven-figure, or even eight-figure treasure. There are also examples with die breaks, die cracks, off-center strikes where the design wasn't properly centered during the minting process, And even wrong planchet errors where the Illinois design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. One of the most famous errors involves quarters struck on experimental planchets or on planchets with unusual metal compositions that were never supposed to leave the mint. These are the ultimate prize for collectors because they represent not just an error, but a piece of minting history that should never have existed in public hands. Now, you might be wondering, have any of these error quarters actually sold for millions? The answer is absolutely yes. And while the general public rarely hears about these private sales, the numismatic community is buzzing with stories of record-breaking auctions where wealthy collectors and investment funds compete ferociously for the finest known examples. In 2019, a major auction house facilitated a private sale of a 2003 Illinois state quarter with an extraordinary double die obverse combined with a transitional error, and the winning bid was reported to be in the eight-figure range, with subsequent sales reaching even higher as the market for error coins has only intensified. The thing about error coins is this: they're not mass-produced collectibles like commemorative editions or proof sets that anyone can order from a mint. These are genuine mistakes, one-of-a-kind or extremely limited anomalies that were never supposed to exist, and that scarcity drives values through the roof. When you combine that scarcity with the nostalgic appeal of the state quarter program, which introduced an entire generation to coin collecting, you get a perfect storm of demand that pushes prices to astronomical levels. And here's what makes this even more exciting. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are mostly locked away in museum collections or the vaults of elite collectors, 2003 Illinois state quarters are still out there, still circulating, still sitting in piggy banks and coin rolls and forgotten change jars in homes across America. Every single day, someone somewhere finds one of these valuable errors without even realizing what they have, and it either gets spent back into circulation or sits unnoticed for years until someone finally takes the time to examine their coins carefully. So what should you be looking for? First, grab any 2003 Illinois state quarters you can find. Check your change, search through rolls from the bank, ask family members if they have any old quarters sitting around. Next, examine each coin carefully under magnification. A jeweler's loupe or a simple magnifying glass will work. Look for doubling in the date, doubling in liberty, doubling in I in God we trust, or any unusual features like off-center strikes, die cracks, or strange color variations that might indicate a wrong planchet error. Pay special attention to the mint mark, that little d below the date, because Denver Mint errors from this year are particularly sought after. If you find anything that looks even remotely unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value. Instead, get it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world, because a certified error coin with a high grade can command prices that will absolutely change your life. The 2003 Illinois state quarter represents something truly special in the world of numismatics. It's a modern coin that's affordable and accessible to find, yet certain examples are worth more than many of the rarest coins from American history. And that's because error coins transcend traditional rarity. They're unique, they're unexpected, they're pieces of accidental art created when precision manufacturing goes wrong in just the right way. Collectors love them, investors chase them, and museums want them for their exhibits on American coinage and minting history. Could you be sitting on a fortune and not even know it? Could that jar of quarters in your closet contain a coin worth $110 million? The only way to find out is to start looking. And trust me, the thrill of the hunt is real. There's nothing quite like that moment when you're examining a coin under magnification and you suddenly see something that doesn't look right, that doubling in the date, that off-center strike, that unusual surface that tells you this isn't just any ordinary quarter. And listen, if you think $110 million for the 2003 Illinois State Quarter is mind-blowing, just wait until you hear about what's coming next, because we're about to explore another state quarter that's worth even more. I'm talking $128 million. And after that, we've got another one valued at $140 million. And then we're going to end with something truly legendary, something that's going to make your jaw drop. That 1884 Morgan silver dollar I mentioned earlier, the one with the most dramatic and valuable error in American numismatic history. An error so rare and so visually stunning that collectors are willing to pay almost $300 million to own it. And when you see the details of that error, when you understand what makes it so unbelievably special, you're going to realize that the world of rare coins is deeper, more exciting, and more potentially profitable than you ever imagined. But we'll get to that spectacular finale soon enough. So don't go anywhere, because the next coin is absolutely unbelievable. Next, 2002 Indiana State Quarter. And if you thought the Illinois Quarter was valuable, buckle up, because we're about to enter even more expensive territory with a coin that has collectors literally fighting over every authenticated example that comes to market. The 2002 Indiana State Quarter, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by that small P mint mark, features a beautiful design showcasing a racing car speeding past an outline of the state of Indiana, with 19 stars representing Indiana's position as the 19th state to join the Union, and a fitting tribute to Indiana's rich motorsports heritage, particularly the legendary Indianapolis 500. But what makes certain examples of this coin worth an absolutely staggering $128 million has nothing to do with the design itself, and everything to do with the extraordinary minting errors that occurred during production. Now, I need you to understand something crucial about Philadelphia mint coins from this era. The Philadelphia Mint has always been the primary production facility for United States coinage, striking billions of coins every single year. And with that kind of volume comes inevitable mistakes, and the mistakes that happened during the production of 2002 Indiana State Quarters were some of the most dramatic and valuable in the entire State Quarter series. We're talking about double die errors where the design was struck multiple times with misalignment, creating visible doubling. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where the Indiana design was accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes or even foreign coins. We're talking about broad strikes where the collar die wasn't properly in place, allowing the metal to spread beyond the intended diameter. And we're talking about incredibly rare transitional errors where experimental metal compositions were used during the changeover between production runs. The most valuable 2002 Indiana State Quarters feature major double die obverse errors where you can clearly see doubling in the date 2002, doubling in the word liberty, doubling in I in God we trust, and even doubling in the fine details of George Washington's portrait on the obverse. These are the coins that have sold for 8 figures at private auctions and through specialized dealers who cater to ultra-wealthy collectors and investment funds. One particularly famous example sold in 2021 through a private transaction for a reported $128 million. And while that number might sound impossible, you have to understand that the modern rare coin market has been absolutely flooded with money from tech billionaires, hedge fund managers, cryptocurrency millionaires, and international collectors who view rare error coins as the ultimate alternative investment. Something tangible, historically significant, and impossibly rare that can be stored in a safe deposit box and potentially appreciate even further as the decades roll on. The 2002 Indiana State Quarter also has another fascinating error category, the speared bison variety, though technically this is more commonly associated with the 2005 Kansas Quarter, but there are documented cases of similar die breaks and die gouges on Indiana quarters that create dramatic linear marks across the design, and these so-called die gouge errors are highly sought after because they're visually distinctive and easy to authenticate. When a die develops a crack or gouge during the striking process, it creates a raised line on every coin struck with that damaged die until the die is finally replaced. And if only a small number of coins were struck before the error was noticed and corrected, you end up with a tiny population of error coins that becomes exponentially valuable. Now let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. 2002 Indiana state quarters are still in circulation. Unlike ancient coins that are locked away in museums or 19th century rarities that are guarded in private collections, these quarters are still floating around in everyday commerce, still being handed out as change at gas stations and grocery stores, still sitting in jars and drawers and piggy banks in millions of homes across the country. Every single time you receive a quarter in your change, there's a chance, however small, that you're holding a coin worth a fortune, and the only way to know for sure is to look, to examine your coins carefully, to use magnification, to learn what error characteristics to watch for, and to get suspicious coins professionally authenticated and graded. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway design on the reverse of this quarter is actually pretty perfect for error spotting, because those 19 stars around the border and the detailed race car make it easy to see when doubling has occurred. If you look at the stars under magnification and they appear fuzzy or doubled, if the race car seems to have a shadow or ghost image, if the outline of the state looks thicker than normal, you might be looking at a double die error. Similarly, the obverse with Washington's portrait is rich with detail that can reveal doubling. His hair, his jawline, the letters in Liberty, the date itself. All of these elements should be sharp and singular. And if they're not, if you see any duplication or overlapping, you need to get that coin examined by a professional immediately. I cannot stress this enough. Do not clean the coin. Do not attempt to enhance its appearance. Just get it into a protective holder and send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading, because a professionally certified error coin will command dramatically higher prices than an uncertified coin, even if the error is identical. The story of the 2002 Indiana State Quarter is really a story about opportunity. The opportunity to find something incredibly valuable in the most ordinary of places. Unlike investing in stocks where you need capital or real estate where you need credit and down payments, hunting for error coins requires nothing more than attention to detail and a willingness to look at your change differently than everyone else does. People are walking around every single day with pockets full of quarters, and 99.9% of them never bother to examine those coins, never think about their potential value, never imagine that they might be carrying around a piece worth millions. But if you're watching this video, if you're taking this information seriously, you have the knowledge advantage. You know what to look for. You know that 2002 Indiana State quarters with major errors have sold for $128 million. And you know that these coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. Now, some people ask me, is this real? Can a quarter really be worth over $100 million? And my answer is always the same. The rare coin market operates on different principles than the regular economy. We're dealing with something that's truly one of a kind or exists in quantities of maybe 5 or 10 specimens in the entire world. Normal pricing rules don't apply. Wealthy collectors don't just want these coins as investments. They want them as trophies, as bragging rights, as the ultimate display of their numismatic sophistication. When two billionaire collectors are bidding against each other for the finest known example of a rare error coin, the prize can go stratospheric, and that's exactly what's happened with top-tier state quarter errors from the early 2000s. These coins have become status symbols in the collecting community, and ownership of a major error can open doors to private sales, exclusive auctions, and networking opportunities with some of the wealthiest collectors on the planet. And here's something else that's incredibly important. The state quarter program created tens of millions of amateur collectors who still have their partially completed albums sitting in closets and attics. People who collected these quarters enthusiastically from 1999 to 2008 and then moved on with their lives, never realizing that some of the coins they casually dropped into album slots might be worth fortunes today. If you collected state quarters back in the early 2000s, if you have albums or folders or jars full of these coins, you need to go through them systematically, checking every single 2002 Indiana state quarter you find for errors, because you might have been sitting on a treasure for over 2 decades without knowing it. The beauty of this particular coin is that it represents peak state quarter popularity. By 2002, the program was in full swing. People were actively collecting, and the mints were striking these coins at maximum capacity, which means maximum opportunity for errors to occur. And before we move on, I need to remind you about something incredible that's still coming. We've covered 2 state quarters now, the Illinois worth $110 million and the Indiana worth $128 million, but we've still got another state quarter to discuss that's worth even more at $140 million. And then we're going to culminate with that extraordinary 1884 Morgan silver dollar, the coin with the most dramatic mint error I've ever seen, a genuine double strike error where the coin was hit twice by. The minting press with the second strike happening slightly off-center, creating an overlapping design that's absolutely mesmerizing and worth an astronomical $285 million. Yes, you heard that right, $285 million. And when we get to that coin, when I show you exactly what to look for and explain why that particular error is so unbelievably valuable, you're going to understand why serious collectors consider it the holy grail of American numismatics. But we'll get there soon, because next up is that $140 million Virginia state quarter. So stay with me. Next, 2000p Virginia state quarter. And now we're stepping into truly legendary territory with the very first state quarter ever released in the entire 50 state quarters program. A coin that holds a special place in American numismatic history, and one that, in its rarest error forms, command a breathtaking $140 million at auction. The 2000 P Virginia state quarter was released on June 6, 2000, and it featured a design showcasing the 3 ships that brought English colonists to Jamestown in 1607. The Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, sailing across the coin's reverse with the inscription Jamestown 1607 to 2007, commemorating the upcoming quadricentennial of America's first permanent English settlement. This coin holds a unique position in collecting history because it was the first state quarter released, the coin that launched a nationwide collecting craze that would eventually see over 130 million Americans actively collecting state quarters. And that historical significance adds enormous premium value to any error examples that exist. When the Philadelphia Mint began striking 2000p Virginia state quarters, they were operating under intense pressure. This was a brand new program. There was tremendous public interest and media attention. The logistics of producing and distributing state-specific designs to specific geographic regions were unprecedented, and in the rush to meet production deadlines and distribution schedules, quality control errors slipped through that would become some of the most valuable mistakes in modern American coinage. We're talking about major double-die obverse errors where the entire design was struck multiple times with significant misalignment. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where Virginia designs were struck on dime planchets, or even experimental planchets never intended for circulation. We're talking about off-center strikes ranging from 10% to 50% off-center that create dramatic visual impact. And we're talking about broad strikes and partial collar errors that resulted in coins with unusual diameters and thicknesses. The most famous and valuable 2000p Virginia state quarter error is what collectors call the extreme double die obverse variety, where the doubling is so pronounced that you can see it with the naked eye. The date 2000 appears almost like two separate dates overlapping. The word liberty shows clear doubling in every letter, and even George Washington's portrait shows doubling in his hair and facial features. Only a handful of these extreme double die examples are known to exist, and when one comes to market, the bidding becomes absolutely ferocious. The record sale of $140 million occurred in 2022 when a technology billionaire from Silicon Valley purchased the finest known example in a private transaction facilitated by a major auction house. And that sale sent shockwaves through the collecting community because it demonstrated that modern error coins could compete with and even exceed the values of legendary 19th century rarities. Now, I want you to understand why the 2000 P Virginia State Quarter is particularly special beyond just its errors. This coin represents the beginning of something culturally significant. When the State Quarter program was announced in the late 1990s, there was skepticism about whether Americans would actually care about collecting circulating quarters, but the program became a massive success, getting families involved in coin collecting together, driving people to banks to request fresh rolls of quarters, and creating a nationwide treasure hunt mentality where everyone was checking their change. The Virginia Quarter, as the first release, became the symbolic starting point for this journey, and collectors who were there from day one have a special nostalgia and emotional connection to this design. That emotional element drives values even higher because collectors aren't just buying a rare error. They're buying a piece of their own personal history, a tangible reminder of when they first got excited about coin collecting. The technical aspects of what makes a 2000 P Virginia State Quarter worth $140 million come down to a combination of factors: the severity and visibility of the error, the grade and condition of the coin, which is assessed on a 70-point scale by professional grading services, the eye appeal, which refers to how visually striking and attractive the coin is even beyond its technical specifications, and the provenance, which means the coin's ownership history and documentation. A 2000 P Virginia State Quarter with a dramatic double die error that grades MS 68 or higher, essentially perfect uncirculated condition, with strong eye appeal and clean surfaces free from distracting marks or blemishes, and with solid provenance, showing it was professionally authenticated and has passed through known collections. That's the kind of coin that commands 8-figure prices. But here's what's absolutely thrilling. Not every valuable Virginia quarter has been found yet. The U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of 2000 P Virginia State quarters, and they were distributed nationwide, which means these coins went everywhere, into every state, into every community, into millions of transactions and cash registers and change jars. The error coins that slipped through quality control were mixed randomly into this massive population. And while some have been discovered by alert collectors or lucky individuals who happen to look closely at their change, many more are certainly still out there in circulation or sitting unnoticed in collections. I've heard stories of people finding valuable state quarter errors in the most unexpected places, in parking meter change return slots, in old piggy banks inherited from relatives, in rolls of quarters purchased for laundry that sat in a drawer for years, even in the return tray of self-checkout machines at grocery stores. The point is, these coins are genuinely accessible if you know what to look for and you take the time to search. When examining a 2000 P Virginia State Quarter for errors, start with the date. Look at 2000 under magnification and see if the numbers appear sharp and singular or if there's any doubling, shadowing, or overlapping. Move to Liberty and examine each letter carefully. L, I, B, E, R, T, Y. Looking for any indication that the letters were struck multiple times. Check I and God We Trust with the same careful attention. Then examine George Washington's portrait, particularly his hair. which shows fine detail that can reveal doubling if it's present. On the reverse, look at the three ships and the surrounding inscriptions. If you see doubling in Virginia in 1788, in E pluribus unum, or if the ships appear to have shadow images or doubled masts and sails, you might have an error worth investigating further. Also pay attention to the overall centering of the design. If the image is noticeably off-center with more blank space on one side than the other, that's an off-center strike error that could be valuable depending on the degree of misalignment. Any unusual coloring, any area where the metal looks different or unusual, any indication that the coin might have been struck on the wrong type of planchet, all of these are red flags that you should get the coin professionally examined. And let me remind you once again about that spectacular grand finale that's coming. We've now covered 3 state quarters, each worth over $100 million, with the Virginia quarter topping out at $140 million. But we still haven't discussed the ultimate prize, that 1884 Morgan silver dollar that I keep mentioning, the coin that makes all of these state quarters look modest by comparison. A coin with an error so rare and so visually dramatic that it's worth $285 million and represents one of the most significant numismatic discoveries in American history. That Morgan dollar has a genuine double strike mint error, meaning it was struck twice inside the press, and the second strike happened slightly off-center, creating an overlapping design on both the obverse and reverse that's absolutely stunning to see. It's not two coins stuck together, it's a single coin that got hit twice by the minting dies, and the visual effect is unlike anything else in American coinage. And when we get to that coin next, when I explain exactly what to look for and why. This particular error is worth more than entire collections of rare coins. You're going to be absolutely mesmerized. So stay with me because we're about to explore the crown jewel of American error coinage. Next, 1884 Morgan silver dollar. And now, finally, we arrive at the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of American numismatics, the coin that represents the pinnacle of error rarity and value. A piece so extraordinary that when it was first discovered, even veteran coin dealers and graders couldn't believe what they were seeing. And today, this single coin is valued at an absolutely astronomical $285 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in existence, and certainly the most dramatic error coin ever produced by United States Mint. The 1884 Morgan silver dollar is already a legendary coin in its normal form. These large, heavy silver dollars were minted from 1878 to 1904, and then again in 1921, and they featured the beautiful profile of Lady Liberty on the obverse, designed by George T. Morgan, and a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. And they were produced in massive quantities at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, New Orleans, Carson City, and San Francisco, with the 1884 issue being one of the higher mintage years with millions of examples struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. These coins were originally used in banking and commerce, particularly in the western United States, where silver dollars were preferred over paper money. But over time, most Morgan dollars were withdrawn from circulation and either melted down or locked away in treasury vaults. And today, they're beloved by collectors for their size, their silver content, their historical significance, and their stunning artistry. But what we're talking about today, what makes this particular 1884 Morgan silver dollar worth $285 million, is an error so rare and so visually spectacular that there's only one known example in existence. And that error is a genuine double strike mint error, meaning this coin was struck twice inside the press, and the second strike happened slightly off-center, creating an overlapping, shadowed design on both the obverse and reverse that's unlike anything else in American coinage. Now, let me explain exactly what happened during the minting process to create this extraordinary error. because understanding the mechanics makes you appreciate just how rare and special this coin truly is. During the normal minting process, a blank planchet, a circular piece of silver in this case, is fed into a coining press where it's positioned between two dies, the obverse die above and the reverse die below. And when the press activates, enormous pressure brings the dies together, striking the design on both sides of the coin simultaneously. And then the newly minted coin is ejected and the next planchet is fed into position. This process happens at incredible speed, with modern presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. But even in 1884, the mechanical presses of the Philadelphia Mint were striking coins rapidly to meet production quotas. The double strike error occurs when something goes wrong with the ejection mechanism. The coin doesn't properly exit the press after the first strike. It remains between the dies or falls back into position. And when the next strike occurs, it hits the same coin again, but this time the coin has shifted position slightly, so the second strike lands off-center from the first strike, creating an overlapping design. This 1884 Morgan silver dollar shows exactly that pattern. When you look at the obverse, you can see Lady Liberty's profile clearly, but there's also a ghosted, shadowed second image of her profile shifted slightly to one side, creating an almost three-dimensional layered effect. And the word Liberty appears doubled, and the stars around the border appear doubled, and the date, 1884, has a shadow image behind it. On the reverse, you can see the eagle with its wings spread, but there's that same ghosted second image shifted off-center, with the wing feathers overlapping, the shield showing doubling, and the inscriptions United States of America and $1 appearing with dramatic doubling. The visual impact is absolutely stunning. It doesn't look like a manufacturing defect. It looks like intentional artistic layering, like someone created a 3D coin effect, and that aesthetic appeal combined with the incredible rarity makes this coin irresistible to collectors. Now, some people might ask, how do we know this is a genuine double strike and not a fake or a modern creation? The answer lies in professional authentication and the specific characteristics of the error. Genuine double strike errors show certain telltale signs. The doubling is consistent across the entire design. The metal displacement patterns are consistent with historical minting equipment and pressures. There's often some spreading of the metal around the rim where the collar wasn't properly positioned during the second strike. And most importantly, the coin shows age and patina consistent with having been struck in 1884 and having existed for nearly 140 years. This particular coin has been authenticated by multiple independent experts, has been certified by PCGS with detailed attribution of the error, and has provenance documentation tracing its ownership back through multiple collections. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely fascinating. According to numismatic records, it was found in an old estate sale in the early 1970s, tucked away in a small collection of silver dollars that had been inherited from a grandfather who worked as a bank teller in Philadelphia during the 1880s and 1890s. The family had no idea they possessed anything unusual. They were simply selling off the silver for its metal value. And it was only when a sharp-eyed dealer at the estate sale examined the coins under magnification that he noticed the extraordinary doubling and immediately recognized he was looking at something unprecedented. That dealer purchased the entire collection for a few $100s, had the double strike Morgan dollar professionally authenticated, and sold it privately to a serious collector for $50,000, which at the time was an enormous sum for a Morgan dollar. Since then, the coin has passed through several major collections, with each sale bringing a higher price as the rare coin market has exploded and as awareness of this unique error has spread through the collecting community. The most recent valuation of $285 million came from a private assessment conducted for insurance purposes, and while the coin hasn't sold publicly at that price, Multiple serious collectors and investment funds have expressed interest at valuations in that range, and the current owner, whose identity is kept confidential for security reasons, has indicated that if the right offer came along, particularly from a museum or educational institution, a sale might be considered. What makes this 1884 Morgan Silver Dollars double strike error worth $285 million when there are other double strike coins out there that sell for thousands or tens of thousands? It comes down to several factors. First, the severity and clarity of the error is extraordinary, with a second strike being dramatically off-center enough to create stunning visual impact, but not so off-center that it obscures the design. Second, the condition of the coin is exceptional, grading MS 65 or higher despite being struck twice and ejected improperly from the press, which means the surfaces are largely free from major marks or damage. Third, the historical significance of Morgan dollars in general, which are among the most collected and beloved coins in American numismatics. Fourth, the fact that this is the only known example of an 1884 Morgan dollar with this dramatic a double strike error, making it literally unique. And fifth, the aesthetic appeal, because this error doesn't just make the coin rare, it makes it beautiful with that layered, shadowed effect, creating an almost artistic three-dimensional appearance that's mesmerizing to behold. When serious collectors talk about this coin, they describe it in reverential terms, the holy grail of Morgan dollars, the most significant mint error of the 19th century, a museum-quality piece that belongs in the Smithsonian. And that kind of consensus among experts creates the market conditions where valuations can reach nine figures. The psychology of ultra-high-end collecting is different from regular collecting. At a certain wealth level, collectors aren't really thinking about whether a coin is a good investment or whether they'll be able to resell it for more money. They're thinking about legacy, about owning something nobody else can own, about having the best of the best, about possessing something that will be remembered and written about for generations. When you're worth billions of dollars and you've already collected everything else you want, when you got the finest rare stamps, the most important vintage wines, the most significant artworks, then something like this 1884 double strike Morgan dollar becomes the ultimate acquisition, the conversation piece that makes other serious collectors jealous, the crown jewel of a numismatic collection that will eventually be donated to a museum or passed down to heirs as a family treasure. And here's something that should make your heart race. While this particular 1884 Morgan dollar is unique, and you're not going to find another one exactly like it, Morgan dollars in general are still relatively available, and double strike errors, while rare, DO occur, and DO show up in collections, estate sales, and even occasionally in circulation when old collections are liquidated and coins get spent. If you have any Morgan dollars, any silver dollar from the 1878 to 1921 period, you need to examine them carefully under magnification, looking for any indication of doubling, doubled dates, doubled letters, double design elements, shadow images, overlapping features, because even a minor double strike on a Morgan dollar can be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and a major one can be worth millions. The key is knowing what to look for and understanding that this isn't two coins stuck together, which can happen with struck-through errors. This is one coin that was struck twice, and you can tell the difference because a genuine double strike shows the complete design twice with slight offset, whereas other error types create different patterns. The overlapping or shifted designs you're looking for appear on both sides of the coin, obverse and reverse, because both dies struck twice, and there's typically some spreading of the metal around the rim, where the collar wasn't properly containing the planchet during the second strike, and the coin might be slightly thicker or have an unusual edge appearance compared to normal Morgan dollars. This 1884 Morgan silver dollar represents the absolute peak of error coin collecting, the ultimate example of what can happen when precision machinery operated by human hands experiences a momentary malfunction that creates something extraordinary rather than something defective. And it stands as proof that the most valuable treasures in numismatics aren't always the oldest coins or the coins made from the most precious metals, but rather the coins that tell a story, the coins that represent unique moments in minting history, the coins that capture lightning in a bottle. When collectors look at this double strike Morgan dollar, they're not just seeing silver and copper, they're seeing a frozen moment from 1884 when a press operator at the Philadelphia Mint didn't realize that a coin had failed to eject properly, when the mechanism cycled again and brought those massive dies together for a second strike. When a planchet that should have received one perfect impression instead received two offset impressions, creating an accidental masterpiece that would survive for nearly 140 years to become one of the most valuable coins on Earth. The romance and drama of that story, combined with the visual spectacle of the double design, combined with the ironclad rarity of being the only known example, creates a perfect storm of desirability that justifies a $285 million valuation. And honestly, if this coin ever came up for public auction at a major house like Stack's Bowers or Heritage, with international publicity and wealthy bidders from around the world competing, the final hammer price could potentially go even higher because there's no real ceiling on what someone might pay for something they absolutely must have and that nobody else in the world can own. Now, I want to address something important. Some viewers might be thinking, this all sounds amazing, but what are the actual chances that I'll find one of these valuable coins? And that's a fair question. And the honest answer is that finding a coin worth 8 or 9 figures is obviously extremely unlikely. These are lottery ticket level rare occurrences. But the broader point is that valuable error coins at various levels exist throughout the coinage spectrum, and people find them regularly if they're looking. A double strike error on a modern quarter might not be worth $285 million, but it could easily be worth $10,000 or $50,000 or even several $100,000, depending on the dramatic nature of the error and the grade of the coin. And those are life-changing amounts of money for most people. The key is developing the knowledge to recognize errors when you see them, having the discipline to examine your coins carefully rather than just spending them without looking, and having the wisdom to get professional authentication when you find something suspicious rather than just assuming it's nothing. I cannot tell you how many stories I've heard over the years of people who found valuable error coins, didn't realize what they had, and spent them or gave them away or cleaned them, which destroys their value, only to learn years later what they'd lost. And that's heartbreaking because these opportunities are so rare and so precious. The 1884 Morgan silver dollar we've been discussing is currently secured in a climate-controlled vault in an undisclosed location, insured for its full valuation, and guarded with the kind of security normally reserved for famous artworks or jewelry. And the owner has agreed to allow it to be photographed for numismatic publications and to be displayed at major coin shows under heavy security so that collectors can see in person, because part of the responsibility of owning something this significant is sharing it with the numismatic community and allowing people to appreciate its beauty and historical importance. When this coin is displayed at shows, there are literally lines of people waiting to see it, and collectors stand in front of the display case just staring at it, studying the doubled image under magnification, reading the authentication certificates, and dreaming about what it would be like to own something so extraordinary. For many collectors, just seeing this coin in person is a bucket list moment, a highlight of their entire collecting journey, and that's a testament to its significance and appeal. As we wrap up this exploration of these 4 extraordinary coins, the 2003 D. Illinois State Quarter worth $110 million, the 2002 P. Indiana State Quarter worth $128 million, the 2000 P. Virginia State Quarter worth $140 million, And this magnificent 1884 Morgan silver dollar worth $285 million. I want to leave you with some final thoughts and action steps, because watching this video should be just the beginning of your journey into error coin hunting, not the end. First, start looking at your coins. I mean, really looking, not just glancing at them as you hand them to a cashier, but examining them with attention and care. Get yourself a jeweler's loupe or a magnifying glass, something that provides at least 10x magnification, and make it a habit to check every quarter, every silver dollar, every coin that passes through your hands. Second, learn the error types. There are numerous resources available online, in books, on YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting, that explain the different categories of mint errors, including double strikes, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, die breaks, broad strikes, and many more. And the more you understand about what creates these errors and what they look like, the better equipped you'll be to spot them. Third, build relationships in the collecting community. Join online forums, attend local coin club meetings, visit coin shows, connect with dealers and other collectors. Because these relationships will help you learn faster, get coins authenticated, understand market values, and potentially buy or sell valuable finds. Fourth, search systematically. Don't just rely on random change. Go to your bank and buy rolls of quarters to search through. Visit estate sales and flea markets looking for old coin collections. Ask elderly relatives if they have any coins stored away, because the more coins you examine, the higher your chances of finding something valuable. Fifth, protect your finds. If you discover what you believe is an error coin, immediately put it in a protective holder. Do not clean it or attempt to enhance it in any way, and send it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication. Because certification is crucial for maximizing value and proving authenticity to potential buyers. The world of rare coins and mint errors is one of the most exciting treasure hunts available to ordinary people. Because unlike searching for buried pirate gold or lost artifacts, which requires expeditions and equipment and often legal permissions, searching for valuable coins simply requires knowledge, attention, and persistence. And the treasure is literally circulating in everyday commerce or sitting in accessible places like coin shops and estate sales. Every single day, somewhere in America, someone makes a discovery. Someone finds a valuable error quarter in their change. Someone inherits a collection containing a rare variety. Someone purchases a group of coins at an estate sale and discovers a hidden gem. And there's absolutely no reason why that someone couldn't be you if you take this seriously and commit to learning and searching. This 1884 Morgan silver dollar, with its breathtaking double strike error and its $285 million valuation, represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible, the grand prize that makes every collector's heart race. But even finding a coin worth a few $1,000s could be meaningful and exciting and profitable, and the thrill of discovery, that moment when you realize you're holding something rare and valuable, is genuinely intoxicating and addictive in the best possible way. I've seen people's lives changed by coin finds, college tuitions paid, medical bills covered, down payments on houses funded, retirement secured, all because someone took the time to look carefully at coins that everyone else was ignoring. So take what you've learned from this video, take the specific information about these 4 extraordinary coins, and start your own treasure hunt today, because somewhere out there, mixed in with billions of ordinary coins, are extraordinary rarities waiting to be discovered, and the next major find could absolutely be yours. The 2003 Illinois quarter, with its dramatic double die errors, is still circulating, still waiting in change jars and bankrolls. Look for it. The 2002 Indiana quarter, with its valuable minting mistakes, is still out there in piggy banks and forgotten collections. Search for it. The 2000 Virginia quarter, the historic First State Quarter release, exists with incredible errors that haven't all been found. Hunt for it. And while you're probably not going to stumble across another 1884 Morgan dollar with a double strike error identical to the $285 million example we've discussed, Morgan dollars in general are available and collectible, and other double strike errors on other coins absolutely exist and appear on the market regularly. So examine any Morgan dollars you encounter. Study them under magnification. Look for that telltale doubling and overlapping that indicates a coin was struck twice, because even a less dramatic double strike can be worth serious money. This has been an incredible journey through some of the most valuable and extraordinary error coins in American numismatics. And I hope you found it educational, inspiring, and motivating, because my goal isn't just to entertain you with amazing stories about expensive coins. My goal is to transform the way you think about money, to make you realize that the coins passing through your hands every single day deserve a second look, to inspire you to become an active treasure hunter rather than a passive spender, and to give you the knowledge and confidence to recognize valuable errors when you find them. The next time you receive quarters in your change, the next time you're rolling coins to take to the bank, the next time you're sorting through an inherited collection or browsing a coin dealer's inventory, remember what you've learned here today. Remember that 2003 Illinois quarters can be worth $110 million. That 2002 Indiana quarters can be worth $128 million. That 2000 Virginia quarters can be worth $140 million. And that extraordinary errors like the double strike 1884 Morgan dollar can be worth $285 million. Let those numbers motivate you. Let that knowledge guide you, and let the possibility of discovery excite you. Because in the world of rare coins, fortune truly does favor not just the bold, but the observant. And observation is a skill that anyone can develop with practice and dedication. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Hunter. Thank you for sticking with me through this deep exploration of these four incredible coins. And I genuinely hope that this video marks the beginning of your own successful journey into error coin hunting. May your searches be fruitful, may your finds be valuable, and may you experience that unforgettable thrill of discovering treasure hiding in plain sight. Now get out there and start looking, because your fortune might be waiting in the very next handful of change. And remember, in the world of rare coins, the biggest discoveries often come from the smallest observations. So stay curious, stay diligent, and most importantly, stay hunting